Hello, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Miss Ink Stamps video. Today we're going to be using this darling So Charming stamp set. It does have a matching die, but I don't have them. And then we also have the Banquet haul. It has matching dies for our candles, and we are going to be using that. And then I also brought in our Dazzle stars because they're just gorgeous, and I love how they change color in the light. So I've got a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I'm just going to spritz a little bit of pumice stone distress spray stain on there. It is a little bit dark, but it'll kind of subdue itself after we do a little bit more to the background. I'm going to heat set that before we move on to the next step, which is bringing in some Speckled Egg Distress ink. I am going to ink blend that all over that background. It's nice and subtle. It's almost like a blue-green, and then you add it to the pumice stone, which is already on there, and it's kind of greenish. And I really like the look of that. It kind of looks old and I don't know, cement-like. I spritzed a little bit of water on that, and I'm going to pick that up, and it's just going to subdue that background a little bit more. Yeah, it's still a little bit dark, but we're just going to move on. So our next step is bringing in the Banquet haul stamp set. This is a big 6x6. It's great. And I'm going to move my piece over. Obviously, I have this in my Misty just in case I don't get it stamped well the first time. And I'll use my magnet to hold down my piece of cardstock. I never learn. It seems like whenever I work with watercolor paper, I always do it right on the more rough side of the paper. There's always like a rough side and a smoother side, and I always seem to pick the more rough side. I just love it. I love texture. So I took some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and I stamped that down on the front. It'll get better as we stamp a little bit more, but that's where the Misty comes in so super handy. And once I get this, I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out of our Misty, and then I'm going to bring in the candles, and we're going to stamp those along with a couple of our little characters from the So Charming stamp set. And I'm going to ink those up using some Blackout ink by Ink on 3, and then we're stamping that down onto some Express It cardstock. So I want to do a little bit more alcohol marker coloring. I've really been on this kick lately using my Olo markers. So I'm going to do my best to put the colors up on the screen. I don't think I do the best job doing it, but I would say maybe 3/4 of the time I put the colors up on the screen for you. But yeah, so we're just going to put down a little bit of color, put a little bit darker color underneath that, and then all the color or all the candles are going to be colored the same. So for her hair, we're starting with some O2.5. And originally I thought, well, that's a little too red. I don't want it to be that red. And so I bring in some O2.7, which definitely darkens it up. But as you can tell, there is a good contrast going on there. So I'm going to bring in that O2.5 again and see if I can blend that a little bit more. And we're just going to keep working back and forth until we get a blend that I am happy with. And then for his hair, we're just going to use that O2.5. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Normally I would come in with a darker color, but we're going to leave it alone. His skin tone, obviously I did not do a good job of putting that up on the screen. And I'm coloring her upside down just because it was easier. And I even bring in a darker color, but do you think I put that up on the screen? I did not. And then for their clothes, we're going to do some RG. So that's more of a red gray. And I love that there is a red gray. I feel like that is what there, at least with the other alcohol markers I had, that was an untapped market, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to put down a wash of that RG3 because I wasn't sure how dark I wanted to go. And then I brought in that RG5 and I decided I was just going to go ahead and make his pants and her skirt that dark. And then we'll go ahead and color the shoes. And we'll put in some shading up on his shirt and then blend that out with our RG3. And then same thing for her. Going to make, like I said, the skirt dark and her shoes dark. And we'll add some shadowing and shading where we think that would be good. And then blend that out with the RG3. And then we'll bring in one more of the RGs. It's the RG6 and add a little bit more depth to the darker colors. And then we can blend those out using that RG5. All right, now moving on to like his tie and parts of his shirt. I'm off the screen. I think that's OR 2.6. Yeah, 2.6. And then I don't bring in any other colors for that to darken it. And then I go back in later and color their wands because I did forget to do that. I fussy cut them out because, like I said, I don't have their matching dies. But if you are all about the matching dies, You are going to love this. And then I did use the matching dies for the candles. I want to put my background on a little bit of a slant, so that's what I'm doing on my background, or my base of my card. And the base of the card measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I scored it at 4.25. And then as you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and use my guillotine trimmer to trim off any of the excess, and then that background is kind of on there a little bit wonky. I thought about putting all the pieces down using some foam squares, but then I decided I really just wanted this to be a super easy mailer. And honestly, trying to put foam squares on all of those candles would have been a little bit finicky, if you know what I'm saying. So I just decided that we would do glue, and we're going to put her down and we're going to put him down. And then I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. And I love this sentiment. It's just so cute. It's happy birthday, not happy birthday. So I'm going to trim that down. We're going to put a little bit of a slant cut on the one end, and then we're going to attach this down to our card front using more of that liquid glue. And I will have a little bit sticking off the edge. That's fine. We'll line that up using our glass mat, and then we'll trim off the excess. And then I do need to do something on the inside. And so I've brought in some Distress Oxide, and this one is in Iced Spruce. I think it's Iced Spruce. It might, yeah, it's Iced Spruce. But before we do that, I ended up putting down those Dazzle stars, and I was pretty liberal with those and just used liquid glue to put those down. Love how that turned out, and I love how they kind of shift in the light. So I think something's up with my ink pad. It doesn't stamp very well. I don't know if moving them, I don't think that adding more ink is going to help necessarily, but yeah, it is what it is. So there's our card. I really do hope that you liked it. If you do, please hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And huge thanks for all the love and support that you guys leave me and give me. It is very much appreciated. I will see you soon in another video. Bye, everybody.